Hello and welcome to the Parents Podcast, brought to you by UCAS. It's your essential guide to everything when it comes to careers and education. My name's John Smith, and together today we're going to step into careers of the future. We're going to talk about those changing industries, those opportunities that are out there. And we're going to talk about remote working. Is it for everyone? Is it healthy? And what are the opportunities? So, as we delve into some of the big questions, let's get to my guests on the podcast today. I'm joined by Clementine Wade, who is a careers advisor and content creator, and Liz Lloyd, who's also a careers advisor. Both of you, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us today. This is your time to tell us a little bit about you, Clem. Let's start with you.
Great. So I'm Clem. I'm a teacher, university consultant, and content creator on TikTok.
And Liz.
Hi, I'm Liz Lloyd. I'm a Level 6 careers advisor working predominantly in secondary schools, supporting students with post-16, post-18 options.
Fantastic. Well, I've already mentioned a number of the things which we're going to get into on the episode today. I think changes to the job market is just massive, isn't it? And things are moving so quickly. So I'm going to start with quite a big question. Clem, we'll come to you first. How much have things changed, perhaps, since you and I were getting into the world of work?
Massively. So I graduated in 2005. Very traditional jobs, very traditional roles. Now you've got a massive digitalization of everything. But I think what's really interesting is the digital footprint that students bring to these early careers that we didn't have back in my day. So I think the biggest jeopardy was you had an email like vodka26revolution@gmail.com, which my friend had and subsequently had to change. Now you've got 21-year-olds with a whole career of social media content on them and on their life and on their preferences and choices that they're bringing to these employers. And I think that is a massive change. So, yeah.
Yeah, technology very much at the forefront of a lot of this then. Is that what you're finding, Liz, when students are coming to you, that it's these buzzwords, the tech, the forefront of technology that people are really interested in?
Yeah, definitely. I think, there are jobs out there that we don't even know about yet, that haven't even been created. So those opportunities, there's so much out there for them to explore. And definitely, I think, those IT roles, etc. But also, I think just going back to that sort of digital footprint is students also need to be aware that they have already got a profile out there on whatever their social media might be. That is all part of sort of when they're applying for things, what they can be searched on and who they are. So it's important to sort of think about that as well when students are looking at those options.
And I suppose it's an important point because, if someone had said to you about TikTok 10 years ago, you would have had no idea what they were talking about, right, Clem?
Totally. I mean, look, I started on my mat leave, just giving information for free. And then slowly it's become a passion project that I've had traction with. And I feel like I'm helping students and it's a wonderful thing. But it's a really hard thing. And I think students get a little bit confused around, oh, well, I've got an idea, I've got an opinion, I can go mad on social media for it. Actually, I would always say go with your subject passion and then let that lead you rather than training to be a content creator. There was something I was going to add as well to Liz's point about, and your point about the tech careers, etc. There's a new movement called STEAM. So STEM is science, technology, engineering and maths. There's a new movement called STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts and maths. And one thing I'm really passionate about educating children around and young people around is the necessity in this day and age for creative roles. Because yes, there's loads of role in tech. We're talking about AI all the time. But AI, the actual creation of AI is only 20% of roles in AI. But you've got language students, you've got creative, you've got writers. And actually these recruiters are dying for creativity and art. So please consider arts education as well as science and technology.
And with all of these things coming through, you mentioned it yourself, Liz, many things we don't even know what careers are going to be like in 5-10 years. How on earth do you offer advice to students who are coming through when you don't even know what the jobs are going to be?
Absolutely. And I think my number one piece of advice for students is do what you love. Pick the subjects you enjoy. Don't try and put yourself into a bracket or a role that you think you should be doing. So yes, there's going to be IT jobs out there, but maybe IT is not your thing. Maybe the arts is what you want to go do. Maybe you want to go and do a trade. If you're good at those things, then absolutely start with that, because we are no longer having to pick the forever job. We're not picking the 50-year plan. Actually, all we want to think about with students is the next step. And if you start with something you love, then that's the perfect place to begin. So
Can I add something as well? I think there are two ways of advising young people, and I would always suggest for young people to stay as broad as possible for as long as possible. I would also say to stay as academic as possible. So if you are interested in AI and technology and engineering, go with computer science. Do maths A-level, do computer science at undergraduate, and then you choose your sub-career. I think staying broad means you have more choices. If you don't have those choices, if you maybe don't want to do A-level maths and you want a more applied pathway, then yes, go specific quickly. Go to a really interesting new provider of e-gaming or cybersecurity at a college. But I think that route is a little bit more hazardous because I think you're making choices too quickly in terms of where you're going to end up. Because these students are going to be planning a career for 60 years of their life. That's a long time. It's not going to be one role. So have lots of skills.
Those careers for life. You touched on trades, Liz. So on the flip side of all of this, we talked a lot about these new things coming through. What about those more traditional roles? Are you still seeing young people come through who want to move into that side of things?
Absolutely. And I think we should actively encourage students to explore those options because there is something for everyone out there. And you may be a more practical learner. One of the things we look at is how people learn when they're at school. Some people are great with theory. Some people are more academic and they can go and do STEM subjects, etc. But other people are more practical vocational type learners and actually they want to go and do a more vocational route, and that is absolutely the right thing for them. So don't feel the pressure on having to sort of, fit into the box of what is expected. You can make some very good money off trade roles and lots of other things out there, whether it's healthcare jobs or, working in trade, teaching, vocational type work, whatever that might be. Absolutely. If you love it, I just think, explore it and go from there.
So Clem, when it comes to keeping your options open, how can perhaps parents provide that support without maybe crossing the line and be too pushy?
I would really advise parents to help their young person to stay curious. And what that could be practically is have a look at their YouTube profile page and think, what videos are they engaging with? That shows their areas of interest. Then maybe go into a supercurricular, have a look at supercurricular is a term that I use all the time for A-level kids. It's doing projects, it's doing essay competitions, it's doing university taster events in a variety of things. And maybe do a star chart. The more diverse, the better. Gen Z, which are the students of at the moment, are known for their diversity, not only in terms of their ethnicity, but their interests. Embrace it. So maybe create a kind of star and reward system for embracing that curiosity. And also, two things I don't think people are doing enough. Get your young person to listen to the news. Get them to look at the stock market, see where the money's going, see where the government is investing in their policies and their initiatives, and embrace the mess of that.
Liz, is there anything you want to add to that? Nodding along certainly to what Clem's saying.
Yeah, fantastic. I think exactly that. Get them curious, get them looking at it. For example, if a student loves history, explore where that may lead. Explore what those options are going to be. But it's okay to also just take history for now because that will lead on to other things later. Again, it's not creating that perfect plan, but allowing it to sort of evolve as you go. Just explore those options and explore the pathways that are out there.
Can I add one thing as well? So a student got in contact with me saying, I think I want to do liberal arts at university, but I'm scared because that seems really open. I would say also for parents to embrace these traditional sounding degrees that don't have careers in the title, like history, like English, like liberal arts. There is no career in that title, but these are broad, traditional educational qualifications with a huge amount of skill. There's, I think, a stat that about 75% of jobs don't require a specific university degree. So parents also have the confidence to know that your young person doesn't need to be doing a degree with a career in its title. Move away from law. I'm bored of law. Go to English. I mean, I'm an English teacher, so I'm being paid by English. But, embrace that. I think maybe it's about also giving parents that confidence themselves that it's okay that their young person up until the age of 21 still hasn't chosen a career path.
When we think about these career paths, for many young people thinking about what they want to do next, a big part of that might be how much they can work from home and how much they might be expected to go into a workplace. Remote working, of course, exploded throughout things like the pandemic, really fueled by that. We've heard of more employers bringing people back into offices and workplaces. So are all employers, Liz, offering some kind of remote working now?
I think it really depends on the employer. I think there's a real mix out there. And I think, as you say, we've seen a move back to more office working or more hybrid type working than straight remote working. And I think, if I'm honest, there's a place for all of it. It depends on the industry, it depends on the role. But also, I think it really depends on you as a person and the student themselves and actually what works for them. You know, Personally, I like being around people. You know, I would struggle being at home all the time on my own. And for some students, they actually thrive off being around other people. They need that human contact. So again, I think it's looking at students and looking at your child and thinking, what's the thing that gets them? What creates their buzz and makes them excited? And that's definitely worthwhile, you know, making sure you're thinking about that when they are looking at applying for roles, etc.
And certainly when it comes to things like creativity, Clem, sometimes it does help to be around other people, I'm sure, and to be bouncing off each other and doing that. But then when you are perhaps working as a content creator and making stuff, it might be a little bit more solitary as well. So there's a balance there.
Definitely. And I think I think remote working is a really attractive prospect for everyone, whether you're 44 or 21. But I think the skills needed to do remote work and to do it well are hard. I think you have to be organized, you have to be a self-starter, you have to be really communicative, you have to be able to take direction, you have to be a critical thinker, you have to think on your feet. All of these skills are not necessarily going to be in place for a 21-year-old who's starting out for the first time. And I would say, even if you are in a company that is offering complete flexi work from home whenever you want, or I would say get into the office as much as possible, because that is where your mentor is lying. That's where your mentor will be, the guide for your career. That's where you're going to learn how to do your job better. And also, you're not going to be forgotten. And I think a lot of the young people that I teach, we've talked about this earlier, don't have enough confidence speaking. And I think to really thrive in a remote working environment, you have to have that confidence. So yeah.
Something I'd just like to add to that is I think one of the big things we see is that lots of students lack those sort of life skills, and that's what we're carrying on from that. Sort of being able to communicate is such an important thing. And actually, we've got a lot of students who really struggle with that because it's not something they've been able to do. And where they may have experienced it before, maybe being able to go do some work experience and those sorts of things, we've lost a lot of those opportunities through COVID as well. And now, because lots of businesses don't have people in the office, there's a reduced amount of, opportunities. So actually getting students to get out there, go have those conversations with people, go do some volunteering work, go get a part-time job. All of those things are going to be sort of building those life skills and building those, transferable skills that we're always looking for: communication, teamwork, resilience. They are an important part of kind of building these students who are going to then be able to go out and, whether it's apply for, university, apprenticeships, jobs, whatever that might be, they're vitally important at this stage.
I was reading something really interesting. Gen Z get a really bad rep for bringing in their dogs to the office and having yoga at lunchtime. But actually, I think they are demanding new things from the workplace. And I think that's amazing. I think we need to shake up. We've gone to the day of kind of get a badge of honour if you work 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. They're not going to do that. They have a work-life balance. They have aspiration. They have a demand for living a great life. And I think we can learn a lot from that. So yeah, get your young person into the office, even if they don't want it.
How can you foster that as a parent or someone at home where you've been used to going into a workplace 9 to 5, whatever it might be, this is how it is, go and earn a day's living. And actually, as you say, that perhaps things are a little bit different now. How can you foster that and help perhaps strike that balance, do you think, Liz?
I think we have to embrace the fact that things are changing. I have teenage kids, and I think it's really important that we acknowledge and we recognize that things have changed. And, the workplace environment has changed. The way in which, teenagers and, communicate now is different. Social media, love it or loathe it, it is a huge form of communication that students will use, and they will more than likely find their next opportunity through social media. So, I think it's embracing it, understanding it, realizing it's going to be different from what we had before. And yeah, yoga at lunchtime and, the therapy dog there with you, I think it's fab. I really do. And I think it's just about expecting that these things are going to alter and actually not shying away from it, as you say, embracing and encouraging them, and look outside of the box. They don't have to use those traditional methods any longer to search for work or apply for work or fit into the box. Find the alternatives, definitely.
But I would also say, also it's great to teach them about the importance of discipline and hard work and that graft, because I think for all the aspiration, which I absolutely adore, and the kind of the demands that young people have in the world, I do also think there's a slight lack of the reality of the job market, of what it takes to succeed. And I also think they have a very skewed, I think young people have a misunderstanding of what success looks like. And I think they basically think, I'm going to get my GCSEs, then my A-levels, then my university, then I'm going to get into the job, done. I'm going to be earning six figures. And actually success is up and down. I mean, my goodness, for me, it's taken a long time to get here, and I'm certainly not the finished article. And I think it's probably teaching our children, our young people, a bit of resilience, and that not everything's going to go to plan. And again, going back to that thing that we said at the beginning, that there isn't a job for life, but embracing trying things out. There's a big new movement for the Renaissance man, which is having multiple skills. So really try and embrace, try things out, work hard in them, show up for them, bring your personality. See what you get.
And something in careers we talk about squiggly careers, and I really like it, because we say that your career is never going to be a linear path from A to B. It is going to be a squiggly career. You are going to make mistakes. Students are going to make mistakes. That is fine. That is what we're supposed to do. And those mistakes, hopefully, will show you and show students what they enjoy and what they don't enjoy. That's all part of the process, and I think that's okay. So the squiggly career, I'm all for it. I think, let them explore it, work hard at it, absolutely. Try it, because if you never try it, you're never going to know. So let them make those mistakes as well.
Squiggly careers, lots of changes, lots of new opportunities as well, which we've touched on a little bit. But Liz, what are some of those big industries, those things we're seeing emerging now, which perhaps some of the young people that you're in touch with are going, yes, that's what I want to do?
So it changes, there's no doubt about it. And I think it's really interesting. Lots of careers sort of come back round, back in fashion almost, if you like. I think we certainly still see, medicine, veterinary, dentistry. There's always going to be, a big push for those. Law, as we said, we see a lot within law. I would probably say engineering is probably one of the biggest areas that we see as a continuous growth area. And mainly because of technology, that field is growing and changing all the time. And then really fun things that we see coming out, things like renewable energy. We're seeing that a lot nowadays as well. So I think it's a changing atmosphere all the time, a changing platform. But again, just sort of exploring that. And again, it's like, if a student comes to me and says, I absolutely love geography, what I love to do is we start with geography, and then we explore everything that forms around that. Because actually, inevitably, I'll sit there and I'll go, oh, cool. Look at that. That's a brand new thing that I'd never even, knew existed. And then we explore it a little bit more and take it from there.
And I think also you've got within these worlds, so you've got AI, virtual reality, fintech, cryptocurrency. What on earth is cryptocurrency about? You've got the makers, so you've got the scientists. You've got the users, so you've got the kind of prompt writers, the language students, the English language students, and then you've got the analysts, and then you've got the policymakers. So you could still be really interested in AI, but not have a single science skill to your name, but still work in AI. So I think I would always say as well, look at the realm that you're interested in, and also consider your skill and your area of interest within it.
I'm sure there will be someone listening to this who has got someone at home going, I want to be a content creator. I want to make podcasts. All of these things which are new. And again, for those of us who this is all new to, it might be quite hard to know how to direct someone. It might be quite scary as well, going, well, that sounds really uncertain. So have you got any tips for parents who are perhaps going through that and don't really know how to address perhaps some of that?
I think, the trajectory of becoming a social media content creator. I think I would say to parents to just get their children to really engage with what they love and enjoy playing, as long as they can embrace the risk that comes with that, which will be negative comments because you're putting yourself out there. But I think it's really important to be clear around the reality of what a content creator is. You're not just someone who can speak well and clearly. You have to have information to your name. So I think maybe work with your young person to think, well, what are you going to talk about? And how much knowledge do you have about that? And why is your public persona going to be more important than Clem Wade on like what's going to be the differentiation. And I think it's an important education piece. So, you know, as again, I've ended up in this world completely accidentally, but my passion and my knowledge is education. I've been in education for 20 years. I'm now giving the information that I have learned over that period of time. So I think enjoy the play, but just make sure that the person is grounded in what they are, what they're doing. That wasn't very good.
I get a lot of students, particularly in the schools that I work in, who tell me they're going to be professional footballers. And as much as I would hope and love that they all would be professional footballers, the reality is it's a very small percentage in any sport that can go on and succeed. And I normally have a couple of things I say with that. Number one is I always say, have a plan B. And I think it's always good to have a backup plan, whatever that may be, whatever, you know, where that takes you or what that is. But have another plan just so you've got somewhere to go. But also, I also say, okay, you love football. Let's think about everything else that's around football. Let's think about, that could be sports science, that could be football management, that could be business in football, that could be project management, that could be health and nutrition, that could be physiotherapy. Yes, you love your football and I hope you will succeed in it. But if you don't, what are those other careers that are around it? So again, social media, I get footballer, influencer, and professional scooter rider. Interesting a lot on my top 3 that I get. And again, I go, okay, cool. Why do you want to be those things? Oh, I want to be an influencer because I love doing videos. Awesome. Let's explore media, maybe film studies, for example. So kind of delve deeper into it, sort of find those alternative paths. And that hopefully opens up some other conversations where they're like, oh, actually, that's cool. I didn't consider those routes, but that's another thing to look at.
And how you get there.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think also advising as a parent, I would say also don't poo-poo their dreams. You know, it again, it's this balance of being a parent, isn't it? Which is really hard. But social media, again, going back to it's estimated to be a $500 billion industry by 2027. There is huge money to be made. So don't poo-poo it. But again, just make sure that there is a balance of, okay, so if like you're saying, if you are going to go into it, well, have you got a video editing skill? Have you practiced? Have you done any training certificates? Blah blah blah. You could probably cut this, but yes, yeah.
Lots of different ways of looking at this and how you get to where you want to be. Let's talk a little bit about some of the careers and sorry, start that again. Let's talk a little bit about careers and how people move forward. And actually, are people even interested in having a career? You've all talked about chopping and changing and trying something new. Liz, do you think having that long-term career is what people want now, or is it looked at slightly differently?
I think it's looked at totally differently now. I think, you know, before, you know, years ago, it used to be you found your career, you stuck to it, you did it for 50 years, and that was seen as a badge of, you know, honor and approval. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. If you do stick to something for, you know, your lifetime and for your career, then that's wonderful. But I don't think it's the expectation anymore. I was listening to someone the other day saying they were applying for roles and they were concerned because they had done a lot of projects and they'd worked on all different types of things and built up this amazing portfolio of their experience, but it looked like they had sort of lots of bits on their CV. Actually, that's really positive because it shows a really broad breadth of experience and it shows that you're willing to try different things and go into different routes. I mean, there does become a point where we don't want to be chopping and changing all the time. Hopefully, those experiences will lead you to something that you think, actually, I'm really good at this and this is something I want to stick to for a while. But no, I don't think we have to, again, when students come and see me and they come in for what we call a careers interview, it sounds terrifying. It really does. It sounds like I'm going to make them sit there and have a plan. You know, absolutely not. Literally, as a parent, all you want to find out is what is the next step. That is literally it. If we can make a next step that's going to keep your options open, include the things you love, keep your choices available to you, that is what we want to do. So yeah, don't plan the forever, just plan that next step.
I totally agree. And actually, I find my life's work is with the young people that I work with, it's just trying to actually take them away from this career for life. So the students I work with seem to think that they're going to go to university and they're going to get a career that will be that career for the rest of their life. And actually all my education is around, no, that is very likely not to be the case. Even medicine, even people, because there's a huge percentage of medics now moving fields quite quickly and quite early in their career. So I think I would really, 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 really recommend parents just embrace the fact that there won't be a career for life and really try and give their young person confidence to embrace that change. Because actually, from where I sit, I don't see that children, that young people have that confidence with that. I think they want that identifier. They want a role to lock themselves in, and they want to be able to understand where they place themselves in the world as a result. Actually, no, just be like, no, there is no job for life now. There are lots of little jobs, and that's really cool.
Do you think young people are more entrepreneurial, perhaps? No.
I've been thinking about this question a lot. No, I don't think they're any more entrepreneurial than they were back in the day, but I think they have got greater means in order to be entrepreneurial. I'm amazed the amount of students I work with who have separate businesses. They're on TikTok with their own education advice with millions of followers. They've got clothing companies. They're incredibly able to be entrepreneurial, and it's amazing because social media has democratized it. But I think the worry with that kind of early success is, again, they haven't really necessarily been taught the key skills of resilience and also the real close analysis of their data. Like, where's that money going? Like, I'm not sure. And I think they've got this huge amount of confidence, but maybe not those kind of really boring skills.
And I suppose with all of this, when we think about some of these careers of the future, whether it's something entrepreneurial and taking it on for yourself, trying something new, those squiggly careers that we talked about earlier on, it can be hard to know where the right place is to look, perhaps to get a little bit more information. So Liz, where is it that you point a lot of your students when it comes to finding some of those options, when it comes to careers and maybe some of those new ones that are emerging when, as a parent, you might have never heard of it?
Absolutely. I mean, again, social media, we have a huge amount out there. There is so much information at our fingertips. I would really encourage students to sort of find what they love, is to go try some work experience and, going and doing some virtual work experience. There's things like SpringPod, which is on the UCAS page as well. Brilliant for a bit of virtual work experience. So that is a great way of sort of figuring out what it is you actually enjoy. You might go do, some law work experience and think, oh my goodness, this is very dull and boring. And then you want to try something else, but you don't know until they've tried. So definitely encouraging students to go do that as well. And I think, again, just exploring the options that are out there, looking at, social media, looking at the things that are online. One of the things I like to do with students is when we're looking at university courses, as we're sort of talking about, is using like the UCAS tools and others, you put in a subject matter and then explore the courses that are around it, because inevitably there will be hundreds that you suddenly think, oh, I hadn't considered that. That wasn't something I thought about. So whether that becomes a uni course that they look for applying to or an industry they then start to explore, I think it's being inquisitive. The more you can encourage them to delve deeper into those options, I think the better, and realizing that those options are completely available to them. I have so many students who come and see me and say, oh, miss, I can't go to university because no one in my family's ever gone. Why not? Well, the reason why you can go to university. Of course you can. Let's explore those options and what's available to you and what is out there. So showing them the choices, showing them what's out there, difficult for parents. We all, as careers advisors, we talk about level 3s, level 4s, level 5s, etc. It's complicated. I get it. So again, try and explore those. Have a look online. If students have got careers advisors in schools, which, I would hope most do, go ask the question. There is nothing better for me than someone coming in and saying, Miss, can I sit and talk to you? I'm like, yes, someone to talk to me. Brilliant. So, encourage them to go and ask those questions and explore the opportunities.
I think you summed it up really well. I would also add to do a little kind of personality quiz with your young person. There's so many different types of quizzes out there. I remember when I was maybe like 13, I did one and the quiz result came out as teacher. And I was like, nope, I'm going to be an actor. Thank you very much. And I did try to be an actor and I really enjoyed it. But look where I am. I'm a teacher. I love teaching. That's who I am. And actually, I think it's, again, that balance, isn't it? There is so much information out there, which is amazing. And I agree, social media is a great way of just listening to what's out there, but also coming back to who you are and what you like and what you're good at is a really calming thing, I think, that would be a nice step to do.
There's a great careers quiz available from UCAS as well, so you can go and have a look on there and work out what's right for you. Are there any misconceptions, do you think, Clem, when it comes to careers of the future?
So many. And again, okay, fine, I'm an English teacher, but I'm going to say it. Look at degrees that don't have careers in their title. Look at languages. Look at classics. Really embrace continuing your education, even if it doesn't have a clarity around the career that's going to come out of it. There's some stat, I think like 80% of solicitors actually have a history degree. It's okay to not be doing a degree with a clear title. Now, that sounds really, really cocky to be able to say students are paying a hell of a lot of money for university. How can they put that risk into it? But it's about seeing the long game. Again, these young people will be working for up to 60 years of their life. Really build the skills, build their passion, build their knowledge, and then take on all the internships and all the work experience and all the networking that they can at these institutions. And then they'll get some really interesting jobs.
And I think also just so important to remember that there's not just one option out there. You've got university, you've got apprenticeships, you've got, work experience, volunteering, all of these things. But in terms of where they can grow their career, the apprenticeship route now is amazing. There's some fabulous apprenticeships out there, and don't be afraid to have a look at those. I encourage students to do university applications and apprenticeship applications at the same time, because why would we not keep our options open? And I always say to them, best case scenario, you get offered a uni and you get offered an apprenticeship. How amazing. You can then make a decision for you as an individual, as a student, what is going to be the best option, for them. So explore all of those choices. The education system is unfortunately, one size fits all as it sits, but it doesn't have to be. You can, when you get to post 16 and post 18, you can start to really make some decisions about you as an individual. And for those students, thinking about how they learn, thinking about if they're a more practical learner than a theory learner is so vitally important to start to pick the right option and the right choice for them. So yeah, explore those ideas that are out there.
And can I also add, be really mindful around the use of AI in job applications, in CVs, in university personal statements. I've spoken to lots of recruiters recently who are bemoaning the lack of creativity in what they're getting in these applications. AI is an amazing tool for young people to use, but just use it mindfully. Don't copy and paste. There is such a need for creativity and your individual voice. So make sure that you are guiding your child to share their voice, not just repeat and copy and paste.
I think just on that as well, I can't, making a student be individual. It's just so important, isn't it? Letting them show who they really are. There's that fabulous be weird and wonderful. Yes, if that's who you are, if that is what you are and that's there will be something out there for you, depending on who you are. And actually, you shouldn't be putting yourself into a role where you're trying to be someone else. So applying for those types of positions that are going to work for you and your personality. I know it's difficult and I know it sounds like an ideal world of finding something that suits you, but that's what's going to make someone successful, make a student enjoy what they're doing. It's the same with picking subjects at GCSEs, picking subjects at A-levels, picking what you're going to go study. Start with what you enjoy, start with what you're good at, and then explore it beyond that point.
So lots of brilliant information there from both of you. If you could offer the one top tip for a parent or someone at home to take away right now, Clem, let's start with you. What would it be?
I would tell parents to help their children get geeky, get reading, get really passionate about something, get under the skin of it, try a university course, go to a museum, just engage with a topic.
And Liz?
I would say explore all the options. Don't just think your child is just going to go to uni or just going to do an apprenticeship. Explore all of them, because there will be amazing opportunities out there that they haven't even considered. So don't box it. Go broad. Think of all the ideas.
And it sounds like that's contradictory advice. It's not.
No.
Just do both. Get geeky and get big.
Liz? Clem, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been great to get your experience and your knowledge when it comes to careers of the future. And thank you for joining us as well. A couple of really handy guides from UCAS. There are subject guides when it comes to those academic courses, and also industry guides as well when it comes to apprenticeships. And they'll cover lots of the things we've been talking about today on the Parents Podcast. This has been Careers of the Future. I hope it's been useful, and I hope that you've taken something away from our conversation today. And I do hope that you'll join us again next time. Thank you.
Stay informed with expert advice straight to your inbox. Sign up now for key updates, deadlines and guidance to help you support your young person with confidence.